Hi, everybody. Dugras here with Dugras Reports. Today, I will be talking about 10 observations from a rookie who recently traveled to the United Kingdom. And this is something of a practical travel guide in England. Yes, I realize United Kingdom and England are not synonymous, but I might accidentally use them interchangeably. And if I do, I apologize. A couple quick disclaimers. One is that I am a rookie. I am not Rick Steves. I have been to the United Kingdom one time, but it was very recent. So sometimes there's a benefit to sharing a recent experience I hope you can benefit from. I'll put some pictures of my family travel on the screen as we watch. And secondly, the other disclaimer is that I'm an American, so this is from a distinctly American point of view. Let's dive in. Observation number one. The power is different, and I mean this kind of power, electricity, these little plugs. You're going to want to get a couple of these G-type adapters to plug your stuff in. I'll put a link down below in a pinned comment and the description box. You can use that link. That is an affiliate link to go to Amazon. We had 3 of these on our trip. I wish I'd had about 5 or 6. You might want to get 2 of the 3 packs to use with your stuff. This is what it will look like on the back. 3 prongs. You can plug your normal American devices in here. Works just fine if you have this sort of doodad for things that work with USB, like cell phones or tablets, etc. If you have something like a small appliance, you might want to research the different voltages. I'm not an electrician, so you should research that yourself. Observation number 2, the subway kind of stinks. And I'm talking about the London Underground. Yes, it is kind of famous, and we did ride it on 2 occasions. Especially with luggage, it's very crowded. And by very crowded, I mean every single seat was taken, all legs on all times we went. People like standing so close that like you have no choice to put your face like directly up into them. Your butt is directly in front of the person sitting in a seat, and it doesn't seem to bother anyone else, any of the locals. The door is kind of curved, and there were people literally getting in and then doing this so their heads didn't get chopped off by the doors. It is insanely crowded, so that's a little stressful, but with luggage, it's even more stressful. Yes, it's a fast way to get around, but I didn't really care for it. Another suggestion is there's something called an Oyster card. It looks like this that we got. And I read some different reviews saying this is great because it's like a prepaid card that you can load with money to travel on any of their public transportation. I probably wouldn't have done the Oyster card in hindsight. And the big problem is, even though you can sign up under like a child and get a little bit of a discount for those under age 16, you can only do 1 swipe on this per bus. I was thinking I could go like swipe, 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 swipe for all 4 of my family members on a bus, but you can't. So I would probably just either use like your phone with Apple Pay or Touch to Pay or whatever your favorite credit card is. We use the Aeroplan card quite a bit. Tap to Pay. Just get a Tap to Pay for everyone in your whole group. Observation number 3, but the Overground rules. We really liked it. Now, I'm not really sure what all the names are. There's a technical difference, but the trains that were above ground were really good, and we found those to be quite pleasant. They don't come as often as the subway, but they're less crowded. I'll put some pictures up. It's more like you'll have like a pod of 4 seats facing each other. Not nearly as many people standing and holding on for dear life, just a lot more room, and that's a lot more pleasant. In fact, when it got time for us to leave London and go to Heathrow Airport, we went to a station called Farringdon on an overground train and then transferred to something called the Elizabeth line, just because the thought of trying to ride the subway with luggage again was so unappealing. We were willing to go a little slower and pay a little more. So I would look into the Elizabeth line if you need to go to Heathrow Airport, even if it means going to the middle of the city and then transferring to another train to get somewhere. Just my opinion. Observation number 4, you have to walk everywhere. Now, to be a little more specific, you might think, well, we'll just take buses, we'll take trains, those sorts of things. And we did that. We didn't have a car in London. Our first 4 days were in the city, right downtown. We were in a Hilton that was very nice, right next to the Tower Bridge. But the bus stop isn't always right next to where you want to go. Like we went to the British Museum, and the only direct line, we still had to walk several blocks. And to get to like Big Ben and Parliament, you're still walking a ton. So if I look at like my steps taken on my iPhone, my normal average is down here, probably averaging 2 to 3,000 steps, maybe 4,000 on a good day. There's this one anomaly when we went to an amusement park, but otherwise, 2 or 3,000 steps a day. And in London, I was easily averaging over 10,000 steps per day. So just be prepared to walk everywhere. Make sure you have comfortable shoes. Before we go any further on this particular YouTube channel, I normally talk about things like credit card rewards and finding epic value. In fact, if you're new to this channel, you might wonder how an average guy like me was able to fly to London in business class with a family of 4, stay in a nice Hilton hotel that's only 7 minutes away from the Tower Bridge. Well, it's all thanks to points and miles. My family budget didn't cover any of this. I covered all of it with points, miles, and cash back awards, primarily from credit cards. If that sounds interesting to you, please subscribe to this channel and please click the thumbs up button. Maybe a little bit of that info will rub off on you so you can also take a trip to the United Kingdom in the near future. Let's keep going. Observation number 5, toilets are hard to come by. So here in the United States, we're thinking if you're driving down the road and you have to go to the bathroom, just stop at any gas station, find a toilet. Not so in the United Kingdom. First of all, the gas stations are way more spread out. And secondly, they may not have a toilet or one that you can use. And if you're in a city like London, then toilets are really hard to come by. They're not placed everywhere. Many businesses don't have public toilets. And a lot of them you have to pay for. You either have to do like tap to pay with your favorite credit card, or we ran across some toilets that only take coins. So you'll probably want some increments smaller than £1, like maybe some 50 pence pieces to use in those situations. Some of the toilets are a lot less private, like they might have a urinal right next to a sink. There were times where they were cleaning ladies like inside the bathroom in the men's room. I'm not trying to make a judgment about that. Just I think their relationship with toilets are a little different. So if you are someone that needs a toilet often, you'll want to plan out your route carefully. Maybe take a bottle of water with you instead of drinking a whole bunch before you leave. That way you can kind of spread it out and don't have to go quite as often. Observation number 6, no excuse me here. So I live in the Midwest, and if you bump into someone, you say, "Oh, sorry," or "My apologies," or "Sorry about that." That doesn't happen, at least not in London. It might in some of the smaller towns or the countryside, but people run into each other all the time. I think there's just such a huge crush of people. We were right in central London. We saw giant crowds of people all the time going to leisure, going to work, that I think, just whoop, I ran into someone is no big deal. They're so used to it. So don't be offended if someone runs into you and doesn't say excuse me. Observation number 7, the bus schedule likes to exaggerate. So there's an app you can get on your phone called TfL, Travel for London, and it's a really good app. I would download that because it will guide you to the nearest bus stop, train stop, underground stop, whatever, give you different options for getting somewhere. But in our case, there was one example where the bus said it would take 12 minutes to get to its destination, and it took 45 minutes. Now, this was like in the heart of London, and this was in July. But I think don't trust the bus schedule. Give a little extra time if you're traveling during peak tourist time, like middle of summer, which we did. Observation number 8, driver beware. So after we spent 4 days in central London, I did go to Heathrow, rent a car, and drive to Wales. A lot of people said things like, "Oh, you're going to drive in England? You're really brave." Well, I wasn't driving in downtown London, but it's a little, it gives you heart palpitations driving in England. Not because of the driving on the left thing. That was actually easy. I got used to that almost right away. It's not because the steering wheel's on the right. That doesn't bother me either. It's because the roads are very narrow and people are very aggressive. So, the old stereotype of Midwest nice, if we come to a 4-way stop and someone waves you through, that doesn't happen. If you give someone this much space, they're going to ram right in there and take it. At least the closer to London you got, we drove through Oxford, and that was very stressful. And once you get out beyond like Oxford and some of those first tier of cities near London, the roads get really narrow. 2-lane roads, you're like, here's the bush and here's the center line. And sometimes you get down to those 1-lane roads where if you meet someone, somebody's got to back up. I did have 2 occasions where I had to drive backwards and pull into a driveway or pull over. So fun experience in a way, but also a little stressful. So just note that if you're planning on driving. Observation number 9, is Coca-Cola okay? If you eat out and you're expecting to get soft drinks, your only choices might be Coca-Cola, Diet Coke, and Sprite, or maybe Pepsi, Pepsi Max, and Fanta. They don't have the full panoply of soft drinks. I love Mountain Dew, and it was almost never available. My son loves Mr. Pibb or Dr. Pepper. It was never available in restaurants. Even like at a gas station, they might have those. The Mountain Dew tasted weird. It was like British Mountain Dew, not the same kind I was used to in America. And if you like ranch dressing, like I do, I love it, they don't even know that it exists. So you're not going to have ranch at restaurants to dip your fries in or put on your burger or anything like that. Sorry, just have to deal with it. Observation number 10, beware the plant life. So there is this particular plant, looks like a weed called a stinging nettle. And I didn't know that. And I picked one once. And shortly after I picked one, these two fingers started tingling and burning, and my thumb did a little bit. And after about 5 minutes, it was stinging really bad. Well, there's a reason why it's called a stinging nettle, because it's got little tiny needles on it that produce like a toxin that stings human fingers. So for about 2 to 3 hours, my fingers were pretty miserable, and it took a full day to wear off. After that, I was fine. But just be aware, if you see a plant that looks kind of like this, don't touch it. And I have one bonus observation, and this one was one of my favorite things. The air and the climate is amazing. London was pretty good, but once you got out into the country, it went from pretty good to the best I've ever experienced. Anecdotally, I have asthma, and I keep a little bronchodilator inhaler like this with me. And especially right now in the summer here in Iowa, it's like 90% humidity. The air quality is not great, and I can use this a couple times a day. In Wales, where we were staying in a bed and breakfast, the air was so crisp and clear, I went 3 or 4 days barely using my asthma medication at all. In terms of climate, I don't think it went over 80 degrees Fahrenheit the entire time we were there. In fact, my wife and I both said we wish we'd packed more long sleeve clothes. We kind of thought summer, everything's going to be short sleeve. I only had one long sleeve shirt. I wish I'd had 2 or 3. Loved it so much. Didn't want to come back home. Don't get me wrong. My life is here in the Midwest of the United States, but in terms of the weather, I really wanted to live in Wales. Put a comment down below. Let me know if you have any questions. I will try my best to answer them personally. And again, if you would click the thumbs up button and subscribe for more tips, I would really appreciate it. As always, may your spending be frugal and may your points be plenteous. Thanks for watching.